Hey everybody, Livingston here. Today we're jumping into another Twilight Zone episode. This time it's Season 2, Episode 14, The Whole Truth. It came out January 19th, 1961. And again, another episode I haven't sat down and watched before. But before we get started, let's jump into the comments section and let's see what you had to say about last week's episode. Alan Bash 2921 says, one of the very best of the 156 episodes of The Twilight Zone. Yeah, I gotta say, it's a really good episode. I did enjoy it. I don't know if it's one of the very best, but it's definitely probably in the top tier of the Twilight Zone episodes. I really did enjoy this episode and kind of looking at time travel as a whole. Wookson5847 says, I was 5 when JFK was assassinated. I remember my parents watching the news about it. I did mention the news about JFK passing away or being assassinated back in the 1963. And it kind of coincided with Abraham Lincoln being assassinated in this episode and just how history would have changed if they weren't assassinated. What would have been different today? It just would have been interesting to kind of think about. Brandy74 says, people never seem to learn. Altering even a single aspect of the past can create ripple effects that last a lifetime. Yeah, it's called the butterfly effect, basically. And there's also a movie called The Butterfly Effect. And it's the whole hypothesis about it is stating that if you kill a butterfly 65 million years ago, would everything just be different today just because of that one interaction with the past? I don't know. Who knows? It's just a possibility or just something people like to think about, a theory. Robert Jewell 9727 says, atmospheric episode with an excellent score by Jerry Goldsmith. You mentioned JFK. Stephen King also wrote an excellent novel, 11/22/63, concerning time travel and the protagonist's attempt to stop Kennedy's assassination. It may have been influenced by this episode, although King's story is much more elaborate and was made into a gold 8-part miniseries. I haven't seen the miniseries yet. I've heard wonderful things. James Franco's in it. King likes to make stories elaborate. That's just his thing. I mean, I read it not too long ago, and for over 1,000 page book, it's got so many side tales and stories that kind of go off into tangents about certain histories and whatnot, which is really great. It kind of just gets you in depth into the world that he creates around these stories and these characters. But yeah, very much so. Twilight Zone is used as a catalyst for a lot of other projects out there, and I'm sure Stephen King probably watched the heck out of the Twilight Zone like everybody else did back in the 60s and probably got a lot of things from those actual episodes. And it seems like a lot of stories originated from the Twilight Zone when it comes to movies and television of the modern era. Joan Mayer 304 says, Doctor Who also used the trope of some things in the past are fixed. I do like the time-traveling ones, except the one with Buster Keaton. Love from Canada. Well, love from America. Doctor Who, I didn't really get into Doctor Who all that much. I watched the first season of it, really short season, and to me, it's just something that I just didn't get into. I'm not sure why. I'm not knocking it or anything. It just was something that I watched and kind of fell out of. Not sure why. Maybe I'll give it another go sometime, but anywho, E. Fran says, Rod Serling did a movie called The Time Element about a gentleman who wakes up in the past at Pearl Harbor prior to the attack. I'd say it's worth a watch. Joan Mayer 304 says, I like this one too. The young couple was sad though. Yeah. Actually, I've never watched The Time Element, and since I haven't watched it and you recommended it, I actually might sit down and watch it for the channel. Looking forward to that. Not sure if Rod Serling's a part of it, it's got to be something that's off the wall. But I know there's another movie out there. I'm sitting there trying to look it up. I'm thinking about it as we're talking because they brought up the time element about going back in time and trying to change something that happened. And there's also a movie called The Final Countdown. Came out in 1980, where a aircraft carrier gets sent back to the 1941 December 7th during Pearl Harbor, and they were trying to stop the events that happened there. Of course, time didn't allow it and whatnot, but it's very much like a lot of the stories that everyone's bringing up with the Kennedy one, as well as the time element that they have brought up. But thanks for the recommendation, and actually look for that at some time this year for me to watch for the channel. Thank you for the recommendation. So with all that being said, let's jump into the episode and see what we're getting into.
The Twilight Zone. Power, eh?
Used car salesman. New prey on the car lot.
We're just looking.
Well, that's what we want you to do. Pause, exhale, check, recheck, think, peruse, contemplate, wade through, thumb over, dip into. You know your husband shocked me just then?
Why?
I'll tell you why he shocked me. It's because you've succumbed to the propaganda of every cement-headed clod up and down this street.
Come here.
You know why they pushed the late models? They pushed it.
Don't look at your wife. Look at me.
They'll cram those post-54s down your gullet because they would rather make a buck than a friend.
Well,
they would rather cram their wallets full of cash than fill their hearts with the fellowship.
You don't need new. You need used.
Into a blind alley. You don't want a new car. Fin tails, idiotic names, and no more workmanship than you can stick into a thimble. You want the craftsmanship that comes with age, the dependability of the dignity of traditional transportation.
I mean, he's not a horrible salesman.
It'll get you where you want to go. It'll get you back.
Peacock, an expert on commerce and con jobs. And these are a couple of other characters in our story. A little old man and a Model A car. There's something very special about the both of them.
What is it?
In fact, in just a few moments, they'll give Harvey Honeycutt something that he's never experienced before.
What's that?
They will unload on Mr. Honeycutt the absolute necessity to tell the truth, because all of them and you are on the threshold of the Twilight Zone.
When you go down the freeway in this baby, everybody else out of the way. This baby is the one you're going to buy.
Is it?
Look it over a little bit first.
More than that. Here, sit in it. Come on, young fella. Come on. You too, madam. Here, you sit in it too.
Like new.
Relax for a minute. I'll be right back.
I'd walk away. Guy's a gun man.
How do you do?
Well, that depends, Grandpa, dear. If you came here to park this, I'll just charge you nominal rates.
It's a nice car.
I'll give you $15 for it. I think the Smithsonian might top us both by $1 or $2.
And they build them better in the old days, I think.
The turkey that everybody and his brother's trying to pull on the open market.
Yeah, like you. You just did that to the young couple.
They did 10 years ago. They didn't know how to build cars. It's the new cars that sell. Don't. It's the new cars that combine the genius of mind, muscle. You remind me of my own grandfather, rest his soul. Died rescuing a capsized boatload of people on the East River.
Damn.
25, I'll go.
$25?
Mm-hmm.
That's all?
Couldn't you make it 30?
You try me, old friend. You try my
What
patience.
does that mean?
That means 25 is gone. And 25. There we are. Now, I'll tell you what you do. I say car.
Damn. He's very strong-armed when it comes to his salesman bitch.
Coffee?
What was that?
Signed, sealed, and delivered, Mr.
Honeycutt.
By the way, Mr. Honeycutt, there is one other small item I ought to mention to you about the car.
What's that?
It's haunted.
Oh.
You don't say.
Oh, yes. Car is quite haunted.
How so?
And every single one of its owners can attest to this fact.
Or how I can unhaunt it.
You'll find out soon enough.
I will.
As for unhaunting it, you'll have to sell the car. It's been a real pleasure.
Likewise.
But he's happy to get it off his back.
Haunted or otherwise, was my charity case for the day. You dwell on that, will you?
You dwell on it. And I rather think you will.
Oh, he's very sure of himself. So what's with the car? Is it haunted? You gonna purchase it?
It's not for sale.
Why not?
This
This car we were just sitting in. Well, that's the one you were pushing.
Yeah, sure. But I guess I'm not pushing it anymore.
Huh.
It hasn't got any points, hasn't got any rings, hasn't got any plugs. Gasoline like it owns every oil well in Texas. And the chassis has been bent, and I meant it to run about a block and then stop.
Wow.
You'll start taking it in for repairs every third Thursday of the month.
What else have you got?
Nothing.
Haven't anything else worthwhile to show you. I got more lemons per square foot than a fruit grower in Salinas. Hit one of those reputable places and get what you pay for and something you really like. But
Wow.
Okay.
Ruined his business.
hey, never mind.
Go look at television sets.
Yeah, I thought you were looking at cars. That was our only line.
Sorry I'm late, boss. I was down at the junkyard checking on the 34 Chevy wheelers. What's the action, boss?
Oh, things a little quiet around. You won't believe what you won't.
You won't believe it.
You keep that hood closed, you dope. How many times I gotta tell you? When you got an engine you can't see for rust, you gotta play a little hide and seek. Now listen, Irv. I want you to put a sign in the car that says it's for sale as is. I think you better open up both sides of the hood so they can get a better look at the engine. Do I look all right to you, Irv?
Nope.
What'd you have for dinner?
No, this is... Give me a song and dance about a haunted car. And I was stupid enough to stand there and listen to him. Reserved a rubber room for him. You're ever loving. Now, look, baby, about tonight, I'm going to be a little late. Look, I told you there was inventory time. What I'm going to be doing tonight is I'm going to be playing poker with the boys.
Oh, no.
Honey, look, don't listen to me. This is nuts. I'm sick or something. Look, what I'm really going to be doing tonight is
Uh-oh.
playing poker with the boys. What is? I got no control over what I'm saying. I got no control.
You lie. Everything you say is a lie. Reminds me of a certain movie. Liar, Liar, anybody? Jim Carrey?
Whoever owns that car has to tell the truth. Did you ever hear anything more ghastly? As long as I own that car, I have to tell the truth.
Well, that sucks.
Well, here are the signs you wanted, boss.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So maybe this will all turn around for him, though. Maybe he'll start telling the truth, and he'll still sell the cars.
I hate to bother you now, boss, but it's that thing about my raise. I don't want to bug you, but you promised. You said that in 6 months, if I'd sold 3 cars...
The day you get more money out of me, it'll be below zero in the Fijis. I'd only dangle that raise in front of them just as long as it takes them to get wide. Or for you to get more money out of me would be just about as easy as pouring hot butter into a wildcat's ear. That hurt me more than it did you.
Correct.
Did it, though?
This is gonna hurt you a lot more than it hurts me.
Ow. That's violence, man. They can call the cops on you. Another sucker? Or will you be able to sucker him, I wonder?
Luther Grimbley here. Honest Luther Grimbley. Currently up for re-election.
Is he really honest? He needs a car that makes you honest.
What about its condition?
The block's cracked.
What?
You take a good look at these tires. The rubber's shot.
Might be good for a few years. Not many, though.
Manny, this car is living on borrowed time.
What's she worth? $50?
$50?
All right, maybe 60.
This is a bad car, you see. It's a lemon.
He's very honest.
I've seen all kinds of routines, all kinds of... This is the old reverse English, isn't it? The old twisteroo. You little devil, you. $25 for it.
$25?
Sure.
I mean, $22.50. The car and no strings. Trot out the strings. I want to know what I'm getting.
It makes you tell the truth.
The car's haunted.
So it's haunted. You're the cleverest cookie in the... You ought to be in politics.
Well, whoever owns it has to tell the truth. The whole truth. And the only way he can stop telling the truth is to sell the car.
Uh-oh.
That's no baby. It's a great-grandfather. Hasn't got any transmission, no rear end, no axle.
That's the goods, isn't it?
Yep.
What about the Model A? I mean, in spite of the fact that it's haunted, it's still a swell conversation piece.
For some people, maybe, but not for old, honest Luther Grimbley.
But you're honest.
Tell me I gotta start telling the truth all the time. Holy Hannah. I couldn't run for office again. Say, that's not a bad idea. If you could get him to tell the truth, that might be the greatest gag of all time.
You... Huh?
Yeah?
Can you?
Why not, huh?
See if it actually happens.
It's your motives that we're
Don't
concerned
worry
with.
about my motives. I'm not trying to cheat you. I bought the car for $25. I'm selling it for $25. That's all. Talk it over with your boss.
Please. Who's your boss?
I believe we'll accept your terms, Mr. Honeycutt.
Have your boss sign all three of them on the dotted lines.
I'm empowered to handle the signature myself.
No, the boss has to sign it. You dig?
Oh, I see a sort of memento or souvenir, is that it? Well, I'll see what I can do.
Please. Who's the boss? It is done.
Here we are, and here is the money. 25 American dollars.
All you have to do is to try to tell your folks that this is the kind of a car the average American drives. Drive it right off, buddy boy. You drive it right off.
You lucked out.
Just the living end. And I got his signature right here. Nikita Khrushchev.
Isn't that the Russian leader or something?
Operator, say if an American citizen has something real important in the way of news, I mean if it affects the foreign policy, well, what I'd really like to know is, can you get me through to Jack Kennedy?
Huh.
The next time you buy an automobile, if it happens to look as if it had just gone through the Battle of the Marne, be particularly careful in explaining to the boss about your grandmother's funeral. Manufactured and distributed by an exclusive dealer in the Twilight Zone.
Awesome. Well, that's it for episode 14. I actually really enjoyed that episode. Probably not my top 5 for season 2, but very enjoyable. One of the lighter episodes when it comes to the Twilight Zone. Reminded me very much of Liar Liar. Didn't have like a moral of the story like a lot of the Twilight Zone episodes has. I thought maybe in the beginning it would have something to do with maybe he'll tell the truth and he'll stop lying as much as he does, and maybe start selling cars the honest way rather than lying to everybody about it. But in the end, he ended up just trying to get rid of that car so he can actually get back to lying and selling the way he's always been selling, which actually kind of worked for him. He was decent at doing it. He kind of bullied himself into it, stuck himself into the situation, and he would just sell it left and right. The young couple were all about wanting to buy that car, and they ended up walking away, thankfully, because he finally told the truth. Much like the other guy, he just took the money out of his hands, not realizing that he was buying a car that was going to make him tell the truth. So in that respect, it was pretty cool to see that he ended up selling the car to help America in the long run to somebody who was a foreign leader, and it would have been bad news for them, because when politicians have to lie to get the majority of what they need to advance their careers in some way, it's not really good to have a car that makes you tell the truth. But maybe they should modernize this and make it into another Twilight Zone episode for this era. I think it has a lot of relevance today, because we all know that politicians aren't the most honest of people when it comes to people who are leaders in our society. But it's just the way the world is, I guess. And oh well, I suppose. And hopefully things change. We'll see in the long run. But with all that being said, let's jump into some trivia and see what it took to get this episode off the ground. This was the third of 6 The Twilight Zone episodes to be videotaped. John F. Kennedy, who is referenced in the story, was inaugurated as the 35th President of the United States on January 20th, 1961, the day that this episode first aired. Well, that's cool. The same plot would be used years later in the Jim Carrey vehicle Liar Liar. In this case, the infamous Lies profession is used car salesman, and in Liar Liar, it's a lawyer. The title referred to the oath given a witness before a trial or deposition that he will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Lee Sebinson, who plays Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, was blacklisted during the Hollywood Red Scare era in Hollywood. Man, that sucks. I mean, you get typecasted as somebody who is from the Soviet Union, and suddenly you're told that you are one. That's not cool. Definitely a dark time in our history for certain. But let me know, comment below what you thought of this episode. Next week, I will go over your comments section and see what you had to say about the episode. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue on this voyage to episode 156 of The Twilight Zone. Until next time, see you later.